You were born to soar. Let that truth settle into your spirit for a moment. You weren't created to merely survive, to barely make it, or to stay grounded while life passes you by. No, you were designed with the ability to rise above, to conquer challenges, and to reach heights you never imagined possible. Those dreams burning inside you, the ones that feel too big, too bold, and too far away, are not random. They are whispers of your potential, reminders of what's already been placed within you. But here's the thing about soaring: it doesn't happen by accident. The ability to fly doesn't manifest while sitting still. Wings were made for motion, for effort, for risk. Yet so many of us live with our wings folded, grounded by fear, self-doubt, or the opinions of others. We spend more time questioning whether we're capable than we do exploring what might happen if we just tried. We stay in the nest where it's familiar, where it's safe, because the vastness of the sky seems overwhelming. But let me tell you something: you weren't made for the nest. You weren't created to live small, confined by limitations that were never meant to define you. Sometimes we convince ourselves that we're waiting for the right moment to spread our wings. I'll fly when the wind is calmer, we say, or I'll leap when I feel stronger. But let me tell you a secret: there's no perfect time to soar. Eagles don't wait for the skies to clear before they rise. They take off in the middle of the storm, riding the turbulence that others run from. And that's what you're meant to do. Stop waiting for ideal conditions to begin. Stop waiting for everyone to believe in you. Stop waiting for the fear to vanish. Fear will always try to whisper in your ear, but courage speaks louder. Courage says, take the leap, trust your wings, you're ready. I know what you're thinking: what if I fall? Oh, but what if you don't? What if the leap you're so afraid to take leads you to heights you've only dreamed of? Even if you stumble, even if you falter, falling isn't the end. Falling teaches, falling strengthens. Falling prepares you for the next flight. Every great flyer has faced failure, but they didn't let it stop them. They let it refine them. And here's something else: you're not leaping alone. The one who gave you those wings is with you every step of the way. When your strength is gone, he steps in. When your confidence wavers, he steadies you. You don't have to rely solely on your own power, because his power is made perfect in your weakness. The Creator didn't just give you the ability to soar, he also promised to sustain you. But wings don't grow strong on the ledge. Strength comes from stretching, from flapping, from trying. That's why you can't despise the process. The discomfort you're feeling isn't punishment, it's preparation. The nest that once felt cozy and safe is starting to poke and prod, because it's time for you to move. It's time to leave behind what's familiar and step into what's destined. When you trust your wings, you discover that the things you were afraid of weren't as powerful as you thought. The winds you feared begin to carry you. The heights that seemed impossible start to feel like home. And with every flight, your confidence grows. You stop doubting whether you belong in the sky and start realizing that you were made for it. Beloved, there's a whole world waiting for you to rise. There are dreams to chase, lives to impact, and heights to conquer. But none of it will happen if you stay on the ground. You can't keep waiting for someone else to push you. You can't keep hiding behind excuses or fears. The time to fly is now. The wings you have are more than enough. So leap. Trust the one who made you. Trust the wings he's given you. And trust that no matter what happens, you are born to soar. Fear of falling shouldn't paralyze you. Too often, the fear of failure grips us so tightly that it becomes a chain anchoring us to the ground when we were meant to fly. But let me tell you something: falling isn't the end, it's a step in the journey. Falling doesn't define you, it refines you. Every stumble you've experienced, every moment where you felt like you hit the ground, wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to teach you. It was meant to strengthen your wings for the next flight. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't master it the first time they try. They wobble, they fall, they cry, but they get back up. Why? Because deep inside, they know that falling is temporary. They don't yet carry the fear we adults have of looking foolish or getting it wrong. And here's the thing: if a child never risks falling, they'd never learn to walk, let alone run. So why do we, as grown-ups, stop trying because of the possibility of failure? The fear of falling often whispers lies. It tells you that you're not enough, that the risk is too great, that staying where you are is safer. But safety is an illusion when it keeps you from growth. Staying in the same place might feel secure, but it's also stagnation. Growth happens in the attempt, in the leap, in the moment when you push past the fear and discover what's on the other side. And let's talk about this. Even if you fall, you're still moving forward. Falling isn't the opposite of flying, it's part of the process. Every great success story you've ever heard is full of moments when the person failed, or felt defeated. The difference between those who soar and those who stay grounded isn't the absence of failure, it's the refusal to let failure win. Do you know what happens when you fall? You learn, you gain wisdom you didn't have before. You discover what doesn't work, and that knowledge makes you stronger, sharper, and better prepared for the next leap. Falling teaches resilience, the kind of inner strength that only comes from facing challenges head on. It's in the falling and getting back up that your wings grow stronger, more capable of carrying you higher. Fear tries to tell you that falling will break you. But let me remind you of this: you were made to bend, not break. You've been through things before that you thought would take you out. And yet here you are. Every time you thought you couldn't get back up, you did. And if you've done it before, you can do it again. Let's be honest, nobody likes the idea of falling. It's uncomfortable, it's humbling, and sometimes it hurts. But pain is often the birthplace of growth. It's in the falling that you discover how strong you really are. It's in the moment of failure that you realize what you're truly capable of overcoming. And when you finally get back up, you find that the thing you feared wasn't as powerful as you thought. Don't let the fear of falling keep you from trying. Imagine how many dreams have been buried because someone was too afraid to take the first step. Imagine how many lives could have been impacted if someone had just been willing to leap. Don't let that be your story. Don't let fear rob you of the life you were meant to live. You have to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing falling as the worst case scenario, see it as a stepping stone. Every time you fall, you're closer to where you're supposed to be. Every attempt, every risk, every moment of courage is progress. And remember, this falling isn't permanent. You can always get back up. And let me tell you something even more powerful. You're not in this alone. The one who created you, who gave you those wings, is with you every step of the way. He sees your fears, your doubts, your moments of hesitation, and yet he still whispers, leap. Why? Because he knows what's waiting for you on the other side of fear. He knows that even if you fall, his grace will catch you. His strength will sustain you. So don't let the fear of falling stop you. Leap knowing that you might stumble, but also knowing that you'll rise again. Leap knowing that every fall is a chance to grow. Leap because staying on the ground is no longer an option for someone who was born to soar. The sky is calling and you are ready. Wings only work when you leap. You can sit on the edge of the nest, staring at the open sky, imagining what it would be like to soar. You can feel the wind brushing against you, whispering promises of freedom and possibility. But until you leap, your wings remain untested, unused, and unproven. They weren't given to you to be admired. They were given to you to be used. You were made to fly, but you'll never know the strength of your wings until you're brave enough to take that first step into the unknown. The thing about wings is that they weren't designed for standing still. They are meant for action, for motion, for the act of rising above. But fear has a way of keeping us perched. We rationalize staying in place because the ground feels safe. We tell ourselves maybe tomorrow, or I'll jump when I'm more prepared. But let me tell you something, you'll never feel fully ready. There's no such thing as perfect timing when it comes to leaps of faith. The longer you wait, the heavier your doubts become, weighing you down like anchors, making the leap seem even harder. And here's the truth that so many of us miss: leaping is an act of trust. It's not just about trusting your wings, it's about trusting the one who gave them to you. He didn't equip you with the ability to fly just to watch you fail. No, those wings were designed with purpose, crafted with care, and tested by a creator who knows exactly what you're capable of. But you'll never see that capability if you stay stuck in the what ifs. What if I fall? What if I fail? What if I'm not strong enough? But I challenge you to flip the script. What if you soar? What if you discover that you're stronger than you ever imagined? What if the leap is the very thing that leads you into your destiny? Think about a bird perched on a branch. It doesn't put its trust in the branch, it trusts its wings. The branch might sway, it might even break, but the bird knows its wings will carry it. That's the kind of trust you need to have. Stop relying on the temporary things around you to feel secure. Jobs, relationships, and even your own plans can shift and change, but your wings, your God-given gifts and purpose will remain. The leap is where transformation happens. It's where fear meets faith, where hesitation meets action, and where dreams begin to take shape. But it's not without risk. That first leap will feel terrifying. Your heart will race and your mind will scream for you to turn back. But don't let fear win. The leap might not look graceful at first. It rarely does. You might flap awkwardly, falter, or even fall. But every attempt strengthens your wings. Every leap teaches you something new about yourself, about what's possible, and about the power within you. And here's the thing about wings, they grow stronger in motion. The more you use them, the more capable they become. But if you never leap, if you stay in the safety of the nest, those wings remain weak. They weren't designed to rest, they were designed to lift you higher. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to leap, not because you're less capable, but because fear grows in the absence of action. There's a reason eagles push their young out of the nest. It's not cruelty, it's necessity. The eaglet doesn't learn to fly by watching others, it learns by doing. And often it's not until the free fall begins that the wings start working. That's how you discover what's inside you, not by standing on the ledge, but by taking the plunge. Some of you have been standing on the edge for too long. You've been praying for a sign, waiting for confirmation, hoping for guarantees, but faith doesn't come with guarantees. Faith is leaping when you don't see the whole picture, trusting that your wings will catch you. Faith is believing that even if you falter, grace will hold you and God will guide you. The leap isn't just about you. There are people waiting to see you soar, waiting to be inspired by your courage, waiting to be impacted by your journey. Your leap could be the spark that sets someone else free. But they'll never see that if you stay grounded. So don't let fear hold you back. Don't let the unknown keep you in the nest. The world is waiting for you to spread your wings and take flight. It's time to leap to trust and to discover that you were made for the skies. Your wings will work, but only when you leap. Turbulence can lift you higher. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? How can the very thing that threatens to knock you off course be the same force that elevates you? Yet this is the mystery and beauty of the journey. What feels like resistance, what seems chaotic and overwhelming, is often the wind you need to rise. Without turbulence, there is no elevation. Without challenge, there is no growth. Think about an eagle. It doesn't avoid the storm, it embraces it. While other birds hide in fear, the eagle locks its wings and rides the winds. The very storm that scares everything else becomes the eagle's vehicle to higher altitudes. It uses the turbulence not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. And that's what you must learn to do. Life will always have storms. There will be moments when everything feels out of control, when the winds of change, uncertainty, and adversity threaten to overwhelm you. The natural instinct is to run, to seek shelter, to wait until the sky is clear. But let me tell you something, storms don't last forever, and neither does the opportunity they bring. The same winds that unsettle you now can be the force that takes you to a place you've never been before, if you're willing to face them head on. Turbulence often feels uncomfortable because it challenges our sense of stability. We like control, don't we? We like predictability, safety, and knowing what's next. But growth rarely happens in comfort. The winds of turbulence shake us out of complacency. They force us to stretch, to adapt, and to rise in ways we never thought possible. It's in the shaking that our strength is revealed. Sometimes we misunderstand the storm. We see it as punishment, as a sign that we're on the wrong path. But turbulence doesn't mean you're off course. In fact, it often means you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Pilots know this truth well. When they encounter turbulence, they don't abandon the flight. They don't turn back. Instead, they adjust, they lean into it, and they trust their training. They understand that turbulence isn't a threat. It's a natural part of the journey. The same is true for you. The challenges you're facing right now are not meant to destroy you. They're meant to develop you. The resistance you feel is building your resilience. The struggle is strengthening your spirit. And if you let it, the turbulence will teach you to rise. But here's the key: you have to spread your wings. You can't rise in a storm with folded wings. You have to trust the process, trust your preparation, and trust the one who gave you those wings in the first place. The eagle doesn't doubt its ability to soar just because the wind is strong. It knows that the same creator who designed the wind also designed its wings to work with the wind. Some of you are in a storm right now and it feels relentless. You're wondering why you're going through this, why the winds won't let up, why everything feels so hard. But could it be that this storm is preparing you for something greater? Could it be that the turbulence is lifting you to a level you couldn't reach on your own? The Bible tells us they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Notice it doesn't say they'll escape the storm. It says they'll rise above it. That's the promise, not a life without storms, but the power to rise in the midst of them. And let me tell you something else. Turbulence reveals what's in you. It shows you what you're made of. When everything is calm, it's easy to think you're strong. But it's in the shaking, the resistance, the storm, that your true strength is tested and proven. The storm strips away what doesn't belong, leaving behind a version of you that's stronger, wiser, and ready for greater heights. Turbulence isn't comfortable, but it's necessary. It pushes you out of the nest of comfort and into the skies of purpose. It forces you to rely not on what's beneath you, but on what's within you. And when you embrace the winds, when you stop fighting the storm and start working with it, you'll find yourself rising higher than you ever thought possible. So don't despise the turbulence. Don't let it intimidate you or make you feel defeated. Lean into it. Lock your wings. Trust the process. Because the very thing you thought would take you down might just be the force that takes you up. Turbulence can lift you higher, but only if you let it. Discomfort is a divine push. It's not always easy to see it that way, especially when you're in the thick of it. When life feels uncomfortable, when things aren't going as planned, when the job feels too hard, the relationship's too strained, or the future too uncertain, it's tempting to see discomfort as a punishment or a sign that you've taken a wrong turn. But often discomfort is not meant to harm you. It's meant to move you. It's a signal, a nudge, a divine push to step into something greater. To look at how growth happens in nature. A seed buried in the soil doesn't sprout in comfort. It pushes through the dirt, stretching toward the light, breaking free of its shell to become what it was always meant to be. The process is messy and full of resistance, but it's necessary. Without the push, the seed would remain buried, potential unrealized. The same is true for you. Discomfort is often God's way of pushing you out of the soil of complacency and into the light of your purpose. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most. Chances are those moments didn't happen when everything was easy and comfortable. Growth rarely happens in the comfort zone. It happens in the stretching, in the reaching, in the moments when you're pushed beyond what you thought you could handle. Discomfort forces you to confront your limits, to dig deeper, and to discover strengths you didn't know you had. It's not there to punish you, it's there to prepare you. Too often we mistake discomfort as a reason to stop. We think this is too hard. Maybe it's not meant to be, but what if the challenge isn't a sign to quit, but an invitation to grow? What if the very thing making you uncomfortable is the thing God is using to push you closer to your purpose? The mother eagle knows when it's time for her eaglets to leave the nest. She begins to make it uncomfortable, removing the soft feathers and exposing the sticks. The nest, once a place of safety, becomes a place of discomfort. Not because she wants her eaglets to suffer, but because she knows they were not meant to stay there forever. They were born to fly, and the discomfort is her way of pushing them to spread their wings. Some of you are feeling that kind of discomfort right now. The job that once felt fulfilling now feels stifling. The routine that used to feel secure now feels confining. You're being nudged, poked, and prodded, and it's unsettling. But could it be that the discomfort is divine? Could it be that God is using it to move you into the next season of your life? Discomfort is often the precursor to destiny. Moses didn't lead the Israelites out of Egypt until he felt the discomfort of exile. David didn't step into his role as king without first enduring the discomfort of being overlooked and hunted. Even Jesus felt the ultimate discomfort as he carried the cross, but it was through that discomfort that salvation came to the world. Discomfort doesn't mean you're off track. More often than not, it means you're being prepared for something greater. But here's the thing, you have to lean into it. You can't grow if you're constantly running from discomfort. Avoiding it might feel good in the moment, but it keeps you stuck. Leaning into discomfort, embracing it as part of the process is what allows you to move forward. It's not easy, but it's necessary. The pain of staying stuck is far greater than the temporary discomfort of growth. And remember, discomfort isn't forever. It's a season of process. Just as labor pains precede the birth of something new, the discomfort you're feeling is a sign that something is being birthed in your life. Don't despise it. Don't fight it. Trust that there's purpose in the process. The beautiful thing about discomfort is that it often brings clarity. It forces you to ask hard questions. What am I holding on to that I need to let go of? What am I being called to step into? What's holding me back? The answers to those questions can lead to breakthroughs you didn't even know you needed. So if you're in a season of discomfort, don't see it as the end. See it as the beginning. Trust that the push you're feeling is not random, it's intentional. It's divine. God doesn't waste anything, not even your pain. He's using it to position you, to grow you, and to move you into the next chapter of your life. Discomfort is a divine push. It's the gentle but firm hand of God saying, you're ready for more. It's time to move. Trust me and trust what I've placed inside you. Lean into the discomfort. Because on the other side of it is the life you were meant to live. God's strength will carry you. In life, there will be moments when you feel like you've reached the end of yourself, when your strength fails, your courage wavers, and your ability to keep going seems non-existent. You've tried everything, given everything, and yet it feels like nothing is enough. Those moments, though painful, are not the end. They are the place where God steps in. It's when your strength runs out that his strength takes over. God never intended for you to carry the weight of life alone. He didn't create you to fight every battle by yourself or to figure everything out on your own. His strength is available to you, not just in the big dramatic moments, but in the everyday struggles, the quiet battles, and the moments when no one else sees what you're going through. His strength is not just sufficient, it's abundant, overwhelming, and perfectly suited for every challenge you face. But here's the truth, we often forget to lean on him. We live in a world that glorifies independence, that tells us we have to be strong all the time, that weakness is something to be ashamed of. So we push ourselves, striving and struggling, thinking we have to handle everything on our own. And when we inevitably fall short, we feel defeated, wondering why we can't seem to get it right. But God never asked us to carry it all. He never demanded perfection or self-reliance. What he asked for is trust. There's a verse that says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. That means your weakness isn't something to hide or be ashamed of. It's an opportunity for God to show up in your life in ways you never imagined. When you admit that you can't do it on your own, you open the door for his strength to work in you and through you. Think about a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they cry out in frustration. But a loving parent doesn't stand back and watch without helping. No, they reach down, steady the child, and help them take another step. That's what God does for you. He doesn't abandon you in your struggle. He steadies you, supports you, and carries you forward. God's strength is not just about power, it's about presence. He's not a distant deity watching you from afar. He's right there with you in the middle of the storm, in the depths of the valley, and at the peak of your triumphs. His strength doesn't just pull you out of tough situations, it walks with you through them. Sometimes we expect God's strength to show up as instant relief, a sudden fix for our problems, but more often his strength comes in the form of endurance. He gives you the ability to keep going when you want to give up. He gives you peace when chaos surrounds you. He gives you hope when everything feels hopeless. His strength sustains you not just for a moment, but for the long haul. And here's the beauty of it. God's strength doesn't depend on your qualifications. It doesn't require you to have it all together or to meet some impossible standard. His strength is for the broken, the weary, the overwhelmed, and the uncertain. It's for anyone willing to say, God, I need you. There's something powerful about surrendering to his strength. It doesn't mean you're weak, you're wings, you're wise. It means you understand that your own strength has limits, but his does not. It means you're willing to let go of control and trust that he knows what he's doing, even when you don't understand. And let me remind you of this: God's strength is never late. It doesn't show up after you've already fallen apart or when it's too late to make a difference. His strength is perfectly timed, arriving exactly when you need it, and exactly the way you need it. Sometimes it's a quiet reassurance, a still small voice reminding you that you're not alone. Other times, it's a powerful breakthrough that leaves no doubt of his presence. If you're in a place right now where you feel like you can't go on, know this: you don't have to. God's strength is waiting for you, ready to carry you through. All he asks is that you trust him, that you let him be the source of your strength. When you do, you'll find that what seemed impossible becomes possible, that what felt overwhelming becomes manageable, and that what looked like the end becomes a new beginning. God's strength will carry you, not just for a moment, but for every step of your journey. When your strength is gone, his is just beginning. When you feel like you've reached your limit, she will show you that there are no limits in him. Trust him, lean on him, and let his strength carry you higher than you ever thought possible.